Well, today I have to sharpen the lawnmower blade. The spring's coming. All right, I'll meet you in the garage. See you there. Show you one of the things with a McLane that's really simple. And the one thing I love about this is that the machine's super easy to take care of. It's not gentle like the last machines I've had. I've had many of different reel mowers, and every time I have one or use one on my lawn, if you cut too low and you hit a little bit of something, it becomes a major job. The greatest thing about the McLane, which I love, is the fact that we could repair it in your garage. It's not one of those machines that get shipped out and it takes months to get it back. It's just a really nice machine for a homeowner. Now I have a 20-inch. I would suggest going as big as you can. I would get the larger units. I like the 20-inch, but I think for the divots and the different ways that it rides on the lawn, I think now, hindsight, I would say I would have probably went with the larger unit, the 25-inch. And then you make sure you take off the plug. Don't leave the plug on. It's very dangerous. You'll get hurt. There's no reason for it. Make sure you have that on, that off. You would need this off, and just tilt it back just like you see. This is the start. These are the tools you're going to be needing. The reel rollers, grinding compound, lapping compound works really good. You need to use brush. This is the tool you use to turn the gear. I'll show you how to use that in a second. And take the chain off really quick. A 1/2-inch wrench. Take the cover off. And we use any electric drill that will take a 1/2-inch drive. So this is my machine. I use my machine constantly all year. To be honest with you, I probably could keep it a little cleaner, but I don't. I use this machine. I love this machine. I don't believe in saving it for anything. It's got the Honda engine. I think it's a great engine. It runs well. It performs very well. I think if you're gonna buy a homeowner machine and you're out there looking for this style, something that's easy to use, I think it's a very good buy for the money. It's made in the US. Hey, it's just a great machine. It's very simple to use. Let me show you. So this is the lever you use to make it go forward. It's really simple. If you look at the drive system, you could see in there, all it has is a one belt that doesn't break. It very rarely breaks, and trust me, if you could break it, I would break it. I use this thing almost every other day. It's got one chain drive on the other side. It has this drive, and we're going to take that off, and I'll show you. I'll have to do it again. So take the tools. I'm going to take the 1/2-inch drive. I'm gonna work it here, and I'm trying to hold the camera so you'll see. But this is how we do it. Take off the screws. Let's take them off. Good old. Take a minute to get that off. This is like one of the biggest part of the job is to get to the gear. So it's very simple. I would suggest you put everything inside the cover, and we'll get to the master link. You got to look for it. There it is. See the master link right there? We're going to pop that off. So now when you finally get to the point where you have the master link, you're going to want to take that off. You see right there? So there it is. We take that off. We're going to be eventually driving this sprocket with the tool, and I'll show you in a second. So that pretty much is how it's set up. I leave this dry. I don't oil this a whole lot. If you oil it, it tends to pick up sand and dirt, and then it wears the chain prematurely. I would suggest putting a very light coat. You could do WD-40 a little bit, but I don't go crazy. As you can see, this is not a lot. This has been like this for almost, I've used this all year. It's very durable mower. This thing takes a beating, man. It will keep cutting, and you'll like the results, I promise you. The other thing we forgot to tell you, in which I make sure that this is off, you turn this off, and then you pull this out, and you're safe, okay? There's no chance of anything falling. So we're gonna work at this a little bit. Now I don't take this off that often, to be honest with you, so we can have all the time with this, right? So we're gonna use a better screwdriver. This is a little tech tip. So what I would do is you use these little screwdrivers. See how sharp the screwdriver is? Be careful. Don't poke this into your hand. You'll regret it, I promise you. It won't be fun. So you snap that off, you take that and you put it in there, you push it out. Now this is always a little bit of a pain. You get this out, you make sure everything goes in here, this goes in here, you take that off. That's going to be all you have to do. Now that, sometimes I take this and I soak it, I'll clean it, and I'll lightly oil it. Right now, honestly, it looks a little dry. I don't like putting a lot of oil on it. I think it's a big problem. If you pick up sand, you're gonna wear it out. It's pretty much up to you. But at this point is where you clean everything. I would clean everything and get the whole setup done and ready to go. Let's see. So this is the tool you're gonna use. Now this could be also bought at Real Rollers, and they sell it as a kit. It has 3 bolts that actually fit right inside, and I'll show you where it fits. It fits right in here. See how it goes? See how that works? And it turns everything for lapping. There you go. So when you lap this, obviously you go backwards, right? And you can see my blade's not that tight anymore because it's worn out. So I'll show you what we do. What we're gonna do, listen, this is not rocket science. Everyone's gonna tell you there's a different way to do it. I promise you, it's not rocket science. It's easy to do. I would suggest doing it lightly. Don't go crazy. You know, if it cuts paper and it's not hard to turn, and I'll show you, if it's not hard to turn and you could turn it, it's okay. Now this was cutting the lawn very nice, and it still cut really well, and I had no problems. So it's not even, I couldn't even cut paper, so it still cuts very nice without cutting paper. But the best way is to get it perfect and just get it to cut those blades so it doesn't rip. You don't want that tearing like a samurai warrior. You know, you don't want to swack at it and cut the grass. You want it to cut like a scissor. Beautiful. Take a look at this. Now this machine ran fine, and it's missing 2 bolts. I probably abused it so much it fell apart, to be honest with you. So it's missing 1 there and 1 there. That I'm gonna fix. So I'd like to show you how it works, how this whole setup is done. But right now I wanna show you this. I might have done that because when I did the last roller, when I took it all apart, I might have had a problem. I had these wheels actually broke once before. But like I said, everything's easy to repair, and I was able to repair it. Now that mower was cutting beautiful. It was getting beautiful stripes, nice and flat, and it was missing 2 bolts. It's an incredible machine. I think it's something that a homeowner that's not gonna wanna go crazy, but they wanna get the look. They're gonna get a beautiful look, and it's gonna be without the expense of always repairing it and always sharpening it. It's gonna be a good deal. You're gonna like it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tip this machine back a little bit and make it a little easier on myself. I'm gonna show you. Now this is not hitting at all, right? You hear that? It's not hitting. When it does that, you pretty much know you're about ready for a little bit of a tightening and a regrind. So we're gonna loosen the bolts. So see this bolt right here? So you're gonna loosen this bolt. So this bolt, and this bolt are in direct relation to this. And this goes up and down. Let me show you. That goes up and down, and it brings it further away from the blade and closer to the blade. The tension between the back blade and the front blade. You see it right there? See it in there? Let's see where they're almost hitting. And we need to work on that. Okay. So let's see what we got. So this is a little hard to get in on this bolt, right? If you don't want to, this is a little bit tough to get in here if you don't want to move everything. But the neat thing is you touch this out, you loosen it up. Be careful you don't break your hands, because that'll happen. And then you loosen this up, so now it's on a pivot. And now what I do is I usually get a small hammer to tap here and tap here, get it a little tighter, because right now it's way too loose. Doesn't take much. You'll start to see it hitting. If you notice, I'm never loosening the back blade. I don't touch that. That stays right there. I'm gonna meet that. You could check it for tension, but I wouldn't touch it at all. See how it's tight? Now we're gonna take a little screwdriver and bring it up a little bit. Let me show you. Now I'm gonna just bring it up a little bit. Bring it up a little bit, and you'll see. Now that it's a little tight and the back is floating, a lot of times I've seen them, so they make the back float and then they grind it, and after that, I never move it. I never move the back. I usually leave this loose. I leave this loose, this loose. You can go in the back to the pivot and make the pivot loose, which is right here. You'll see these are all bolts. All these bolts for this pivot right here needs to be loose. It's that one, and if you want, you can do a little bit on that one. Leave that one as tight as you can, but it's really a pivot, so you try not to loosen it too much. I'll show you. You try not to loosen it too much. It's still pivoting on that, right? And then this could be adjusted right here. So you be very careful. And I would suggest everybody be careful here when you're working with this. You should wear gloves, of course. You know, I do everything wrong. So you guys can make a comment. So now that I got it in the position where it's a little snug, feel it? You could hear it. You could hear it. It's hitting the back blade. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly tighten this up just a little bit. Not all the way. This has got to float a little. So now, this is not hard to do, by the way, guys. This is really easy. And this is my Real Rose grinding compound. Let's see how dry it is from last year. Let's mix it up a bit. So it looks like it's definitely a little too dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it going on. Mix it. I would suggest mixing it up. First time in a year when you use this stuff, it's a mess. So it's just grinding compound, right? See? Perfect. Now this is the name of it. And we're gonna put a little on before we start. This is what I do. I'm gonna put a little on the blade. Okay? This one thing of compound will last you probably years. It's one little rub. You use a nice new brush and it'll last you for many years. 1/2-inch power drill without a battery. The battery powered didn't work very well. Let's see if this works better. And you'll see as soon as I get it going and start grinding it, it's easy. Don't be afraid to use some more. Use a little bit of the compound. Now just keep in mind, we didn't tighten up the bolts all that much. We kind of left it a little loose over here and over there. And now that it's been spinning for a while, you're going to see the compound. It's a good idea to wipe it off at the end, and we'll give it a good bath. But pretty much right now, that's ready to cut. I mean, that is really super sharp. You have to be careful. I could do this probably another couple minutes and put more compound. I wouldn't worry too much about doing this for a while. Just get your cut nice. I promise you won't be doing this that much in the year. You'll probably do it once, maybe twice in the year if you cut a lot. Very rare do I have to do this. This is just something I want everybody to see and understand that it's super easy on a McLane, and I didn't have to ship this machine out. This machine is going to be ready to cut in an hour instead of me having to ship it out and wait for it. So that's a big difference to me. While you're here, it's a good time to check everything, make sure it's tight. Those two will be replaced. Just for the video, I'm not going to do it right now. And we're going to tighten this up. I don't know what happened here. But this is a good point. This is a really good point to make. 2 of those bolts fell out. This machine still ran perfect. It still made a perfect cut. I'll show you. So I abused the machine. The bolts fell out of it, and it still made a perfect cut. So there's not much more you could ask for. So it's my fault. It's probably should have looked at it a little earlier in the year and we would have had this fixed. But that's what I'm talking about. This is the kind of machine most people want. Something that will run through the whole year. If you want something real fancy, there's a lot more fancy units out there that will cut the turf even nicer. I get it. But if you want something that's gonna cut and be a beautiful, perfectly flat lawn, I'm gonna put this chain on. It's a simple reversal of the chain before, and then we're gonna start it up. A lot of people will take paper and check the cut. You could do that. That's how you check a blade. But do you have to do it? Not really. If it's a flat and you tapped it down tight enough, 99% sure that's gonna cut beautiful. And I would suggest we clean the blades up. Clean the blade. Be very careful, okay? We could wash this, or you could hear it. If you listen to it, you hear it? You hear it? Sounds like a samurai going through there. That's how it's gonna run. Now when this thing runs, I'll guarantee this thing runs, it's gonna be a little loud. It's gonna make a swishing noise in the beginning, and it's gonna cut. I'm gonna leave a little compound on it, and it's gonna run fine. The good thing about this machine is the tolerances are not that crazy. So when you use this blade, you could hear it. It's tight. You got to be careful. Don't push it and hurt your fingers. Get a glove on. It should be smooth, and it should be able to turn. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the chain on. I'm going to fight with this thing because me and chains don't get along anyway. Good idea. I usually put it to right here. It's on, all right? I don't do that. I pretty much have it loose enough to get the chain on, but tight enough to be good. So you'll see. It's going to be a little bit of a problem to get it on. When I'm on, I'm on. Now a lot of people use a chain stretcher at this point. I could do it probably just by getting it in there. See how it's in there? And push that in. On. Make sure it's on all the way. Real important. And then there's a few ways to do this, right? Everybody will have their own method. I'm going to use a screwdriver. and you're gonna fight with it. And you put it on there until it clicks. You can use, like you just seen, I use a screwdriver. As you see, I'm not that tight. It's not crazy tight, but it's still tight enough to run. It'll be fine. And we're gonna put it back on. A lot of times, like a lot of people tell you, they'll oil the chain. I'm not really fond of going crazy with the chain oiling. So, you know, a lot of people are gonna have a different way to do this. I get it. I'm just trying to show that it's not super highly technical. This is not crazy. This is something that you could do. That's the height, right? And that's the height I cut out all year long. So what I want to do is take this and just tighten it. And then what you got to do is I'm going to use a hammer to hammer that down, make sure it stays down. So what I'm doing is effectively making it non-adjustable. I can't adjust. That won't move anywhere. This is a tie wrap. If you can see the tie wrap, you know why that's there? Because when you're rolling around and you hit a bump, I used to try to tie wrap it, and then I realized all you have to do is put in a washer, crush this thing tight. It doesn't move. Your height's set for the whole year, and you're good to go.